Good afternoon and welcome. I'm Karen Marsdale and I'm President and CEO of the Greater Reading Chamber of Commerce and Industry. It's a delight to be here again with you today for more of our Chamber Spotlight, where we talk to members and get to know them a little bit better and talk about their businesses. And it's always a fascinating time to enjoy a little bit of time one-on-one with our members. Today I have with me Jim Carchidi, and Jim is the CEO of JFC Staffing companies as I plural. And we talked a little bit about before we went on the air about the business, and always interested in what started at the genesis of a business, and it is a family-owned business. Mm-hmm. Your parents started the business in the 70s, which is tremendous, and you grew up in this business and never had a thought that you would be involved.
Right, yeah, absolutely not. Blessed and cursed at the same time. My folks started it in 1975, and growing up, as you can imagine, husband and wife duo, young family, kind of bickering over every meal. Pre-car keys, I was in that incubator, so never thought I'd get into the family business until down the road in the future, now past. My sophomore year at college, they asked me what I thought of the business because they had been approached to sell it. And I wished them the best. I said, I'm happy you're married, survived. Our family's somewhat normal. Let's get on with it. And lo and behold, I came back for, it was fall break, and when I asked them, they said they didn't sell. And the reason was, the people are like family. They turn their dream into reality. And that hit me like a freight train because they turned down a lot of money and opportunity for that. And growing up, they were like family.
Sure.
I celebrated my birthdays with a lot of the staff and vice versa with their children. And so I looked under the hood of the family business and realized, why they went through all that craziness because of the purpose of it and
Sure.
the intent of giving people in the local communities gainful employment, a paycheck that really has a massive ripple effect in terms of their mortgages, their families, food, education for their children. So fell in love with it. Almost worked out on the West Coast with the industry peer, and as fate would have it, they pushed back the training. So I thought, if they'll have me, I'll dive in.
Hey, it had to be. It had to be.
Business.
So where did the business start?
Sure.
Physically?
It was actually a one-room office in Camp Hill, which is about 45 minutes to an hour towards Harrisburg here.
Right.
And from there, we branched out. Today, we have 7 locations, with West Lawn here in Berks County being our newest one. Been there for about a year now.
Yes, it's a wonderful location. Great building in the old Ronco building.
Correct.
You can't help but know where it is, so it's wonderful. And I know we helped with the ribbon cutting and are thrilled. So 7 locations. Do you span Pennsylvania? Or you get into a little bit of other?
Great question. We're primarily in South Central PA. We're as far west as Chambersburg, as far east as West Lawn here. North, we sprawl from Camp Hill, Harrisburg, down to York, and everything in between is where the rest of the branches are.
Okay.
And as you mentioned earlier, we do have 3 separate companies. They're not divisions. There's JFC Global, which is IT, engineering, and accounting. There's JFC Workforce, which is skilled trades, office support, and general light industrial. And then we have JFC Medical for the healthcare niche.
And when did you, was this in place where you had the separate companies for many years, or was that an evolution
Right.
to do that?
Yes, it was an evolution over time, as they were able to increase their retained earnings and invest back into it. They decided to diversify like most of us would. So you're more insulated to changes in outside economic factors
absolutely.
in industries. And it's been a godsend. It's really helped over the years because not all 3 companies are firing on all cylinders depending on economic influences and outside circumstances.
Sure, and I think it's a lot about risk, how to mitigate risk.
Aversion,
Absolutely. So when you're looking at the West Lawn branch, for example, are there professionals within each of the companies located there, or how do you logistically do it?
Sure, it's another great question. At the present time, JFC Workforce and JFC Global are up and running in our West Lawn location. JFC Medical, we have yet to incubate, train, and release some certified healthcare recruiters. So at the current time, they're being supported out of our Lancaster office.
Sure.
Those recruiters will commute back and forth when need be.
How many employees total?
We have 5 locally and 78
Wow.
within our 10 locations.
Wow, that's amazing. And I think that one thing that I would say is that I don't think all staffing agencies are created equal.
No, that's a very good point.
And I always like to ask people, what would you say is, either your value proposition or something that's unique about the organization and the companies that make you stand out from the others?
Yeah, certainly. I kid around, a little self-deprecation, that we are a dime a dozen. There's a lot of us out there. I'm sure most of you that are watching this get phone calls from ourselves, maybe, and industry peers, maybe too often. What differentiates us is, we always say staffing and recruiting may be our industry, but delivering positive experiences, that's our business. Too often, I'm very active with the American Staffing Association, and in our industry, unfortunately, a lot of people kind of get shuffled through as numbers, in the candidate side especially, and that's disheartening. So if we're not able to connect someone with the right employment, we won't leave them in the lurch. We'll let them know and try to guide them to another resource that'll more readily and easily help them on their journey. And on the client side, we've been fortunate due to what we call our customer commitment. It's an internal mantra and process that we've been ranked in the top 3% in North America of our industry peers by the net promoter rating, which Apple has used and Amazon. And it's basically our customer satisfaction rating. So we've been very blessed with that, being a little boutique staffing firm in good old Central PA, to have a national ranking in the top 3%.
I think that's great, and I would presume that you use that in your marketing, and
probably not enough.
Yeah, yes, you really should, because that net promoter ranking is really, really important, because it's really what your customers are saying about you, not what you're saying about yourself.
Exactly.
I think the other thing that's kind of fascinating in your industry is that you really are up in, you're sort of in the front, ahead of the curve a little bit, if you would. What we hear all the time at the chamber is, I can't get good people, I don't have people that are qualified, there's a skills gap, and we know all of that, and I think it's something that we're working on and really trying to, but it's kind of like, how do you tackle world hunger, type of thing, because there's just a myriad of reasons why, and not every solution fits every issue, but if you had to say what you see on a daily basis or a routine basis that is the most difficult, what are the biggest pinch points that you're finding, not only in the skills and in the industry, but what people are saying about employees in general?
Right. Well, wow, that's a loaded question.
Yeah, it is a loaded question.
There's a lot in there. It could be anything from addressing the 5 generations in the workforce.
Exactly. I was just going to say about the millennials.
Yeah. A lot of that is very much a stereotype.
Yeah, I think so too.
My perspective, I think all people need a voice and they want to be heard.
Right.
So it's a style of communication, and every organization needs strong communication throughout the ranks, no matter what the generation is or generations that you're leading. I kid around to the beginning of your question there. We're a lot like chief priests. We have to get both the candidate and the client company to confess their sins, because the last thing we want to do is get both parties to the altar and it dissolves. It's not a happy marriage. So
great analogy.
Thank you.
Yeah.
With our recruiting, we really are very vetted in asking more deep questions to really kind of get the candidate to really bubble everything up, to get the hiring manager to bubble everything up. For instance, if Sally has the hard skill set, but under our client management, she might wilt because it's kind of chain and command, and that's not the environment she thrives in. We need to know that from the client, so we don't just match the hard skills for the job, but also the right cultural match, so that way they flourish.
That's huge.
Together.
Yeah, that's huge. For your staff, what would you say is the average time that it takes from, or are you looking for, there again, the right person that you can train with the skills that they need to do the job well, or do you look for somebody who's already an expert in the field?
Another great question. For the most part, it's dependent on the clients, and in today's day and age, training is a necessity, but it's kind of shuffled under the rug. So ultimately, the clients are usually in demand and requesting someone that can fit that skill set, or is very easily to that level they can spring leap into it. In terms of training, what we do provide is a lot of resources externally with experts in terms of resume development, where to seek out local educational areas, whether it's skilled trades, the golden collar positions like electricians and plumbing, or if it's accounting and finance. So we try to direct them to the experts in that, because we know we'll never be the expert in all that training. On a caveat, I do offer myself for free training to local area businesses, clients, the chamber, etc. I've been blessed to speak on a national level and a predominantly local level about culture, about screening candidates, about asking the right questions, so you can really make sure that there's no hidden factors once things are up and running.
Sure. And I know our time is coming to an end, but I think it's fascinating because, I'm not remembering now what the data is in terms of the dollars wasted when a candidate doesn't fit the position, but it's just probably one of the most important things. Obviously, human resources, human capital is the most expensive thing that any business will invest in, and to get and to not have that human capital that is at the very top of the food chain, if you will, to do the jobs that are needed is really, really tough. So, I mean, I think the fact, Jim, that you talked about training is so very important. I mean, I always, as many times as I've hired people, and unfortunately had to terminate people as well. It's just a daunting job, and no matter what you do and how well you try to prepare and do everything you possibly can, and use resources, testing and all the things that you do, sometimes it's sort of a gut.
Yeah.
Other than the hard skills that you need. I mean, obviously, if you needed a plumber, you would want somebody who is a licensed plumber. Right. But thank you. I think this has been fascinating.
Oh, thank you.
Again, we know that, just as I said, human capital is the most expensive thing that any employer, and now it's a pinch point even more so than cash flow and some other things that might have at one time been the issues. So I'm sure that you're going to do extremely well in Berks, and I'm thrilled that you're a chamber member, and maybe we may call on you for some of that training too. We'd welcome that. So thank you. That would be great. So thanks, Jim, and really, really, really appreciate you coming here and being with us today.
Certainly. My pleasure.